ASAP from the Nat.
Yes, sir. We back. Now,
Another one
boys, the NBA trade deadline was today at 3 o'clock, and there were some big-time moves for sure. First off,
But they were already saying this, but this is true. Like, just one day at the trade deadline has already been more entertaining than most of the NFL season was as a whole. I'm just gonna say that.
In the NFL, there's not a whole lot of trades, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot more loyalty, in my opinion, in the NFL.
Definitely.
Plus, I feel like in basketball, you tend to go throughout your whole season up until the All-Star break, and then you really, try to narrow it down to get that winning team on your side, you know? Try to get those certain players
Yeah, I
on your
mean, because
squad.
mid-season trades in the NFL are very, I wouldn't say rare, but it's not a common occurrence. You know what I'm saying? Like, in the NBA, obviously, you see trades going all around, during the mid-season, because obviously there was just a trade line there. I mean, in the NFL, I think there is a trade deadline, but I don't think a whole lot of teams are willing to do that mid-season. They mostly want to do that in the off-season to get their guys.
I feel like in the NBA, too, even in the MLB, people normally get it done kind of a little bit ahead of time, even if you got it in the works. But, I feel like with the NBA, they tend to do it, last second, kind of like today,
Yeah, just to build up the.
Yeah, it's kind of like a build up. What's for the media?
Because it is a business, but it's for entertainment as well, and that's where they get off on that.
Exactly.
Is using that as entertainment, because the lack of loyalty it shows brings about. I mean, it brings out real emotions in the players. It brings out pettiness.
It reels in more fans, obviously, because it's a lot more entertaining of a game in the sense that it's really unpredictable, because you truly never know whether your favorite player is going to be on a different team the next year, you know?
Yeah.
Shit, I never expected Westbrook to leave OKC.
One thing goes wrong, and they're ready to jump ship. They're gone.
Exactly. Now you're rocking with the Rockets. It's all right.
I mean, I'm rocking with Westbrook. Yeah.
It's like him with PG.
I mean, when I watch the Rockets, obviously I want them to win, but I wouldn't say I'm a full-on Houston fan. I'm just a Westbrook fan, really.
You gotta follow that player, though. You know, if you're fucking with them like that, you gotta.
And the thing is, I was a fan of OKC for so long. I still root for those guys, just not to the degree that I did, just because.
If your favorite player's on there, keep cheer for the team that they're on too. I don't see a problem with doing that. I've done it with Paul George in OKC and in LA, and like you said, you want to keep cheer. You want that team to do well, because you pulled for them when your own player was on the team. So.
Mm-hmm. That's like me. CP3 was always one of mine growing up. I'd always follow him around all the time, and same with Joe Johnson. I was always on his side.
Hell yeah, ISO Joe was nasty.
That was a lot of teams. You pulled for a lot of teams then.
I had to keep on track.
Dude, I thought the Pistons were really about to sign him though in the off season, because he went off in that Big 3 tournament. Holy
He
shit!
did.
Mm-hmm.
I love
He's
that they
going
do that
crazy.
Now. That Big 3 tournament is slept on. They do some cool shit with that.
It really
It's
is.
Ice Cube's event, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. It's Ice Cube's. Yeah, he's the owner. He's the founder of it all, man. I like that a lot.
They stop in Indy every year too. They go to a lot of the major cities and they do it. Is it the whole week, or do they?
No, they just do it for a day.
Yeah,
I think it's just every a Saturday.
It's cool though. I like it because Dr. J is one of the coaches always. So.
Oh, it's hype, bro. They get a bunch of former players playing in that league, man. It's nuts. I mean, they actually developed too. I mean, ISO Joe was going crazy. He hit a game winner for the championship.
I mean, he had NBA teams wanting him to work out after those performances, just from that alone.
He still had it, because I mean,
I'm telling you.
One other guy that really wanted to make a comeback was that Amari Stoudemire. He was a dog in his day back with him. Steve
He's
Nash,
still playing.
Really
He's still playing overseas.
Yeah,
Is he?
because he was talking on ESPN not too long ago about he was trying to make a comeback. He was real serious about his workouts and trying to get back into the league, which. I mean, but at that point, it's just a little bit harder, because the guy, I mean, he's probably, 36, 37 now.
At this point, they're pretty old.
There's not going to be a whole lot of teams wanting you, bro. But, hey, I mean, that shouldn't stop you from chasing it.
He had his prime time. He was dominant at one stage.
Was. Dude, I mean, do you think Amari is Hall of Famer? Do you think he has a Hall of Famer resume?
Yeah, I would say so.
I wouldn't say first ballot, obviously,
No.
but I mean, I definitely think he deserves a Hall of Fame bid. Definitely, I think he deserves to be in it. I mean, same thing with Dwight Howard. Some people don't think that he deserves to be in it. Dwight Howard has all the reason in the world to be in the
first ballot, no doubt.
Look at his accolades: 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, 5-time All-Star. I mean, he made it to the finals. He just ran into, Kobe Bean Bryant. That's a problem. All right. I mean, look, and that's the thing too. Orlando during that time, who the hell did they have? They had Dwight. They had number 9.
Jameer Nelson.
Jameer Nelson was a dog.
Did they have Turkaloo?
Turkaloo was his name.
Yeah.
Goofy. He had a clip, though, honestly. He had a nice little step back
Turkaloo was
game.
nice. Yeah, he was really good at one point.
But with the busy trade deadline, ending today at 3, what surprised you guys the most about what happened? What was the most surprising?
The biggest surprise to me was the lengths that Minnesota went to get D-Lo on the squad.
I agree, yeah.
I mean, they got rid of, how many players did we say? Like 6 players total?
Yeah, it was pretty
from
insane.
their roster got moved.
Well, when you got a guy like Karl Towns, who they have said they want to build around him, they don't want to get rid of him. He's going to be our guy here. And back during the summer, he said, if you want to keep me around here, you're going to have to start putting some pieces around here that I can play with. Exactly. And D'Lo was, being his best friend, one of those guys that he wanted in there. And so they were going to, it's either you get D'Lo, you do what Cat wants, or you're going to have to get rid of him because he's not going to play for you.
Role players too, bro. They got rid of Robert Covington. I mean, Shabazz, he's all right. He's not terrible, but they got rid of Gorgie Zhang too. He's gone. Who else did they get rid of? They got rid of.
Vonleh.
Yeah, Big Noah. He was I think he left IU way too early though. He should have stayed.
I agree. Yeah,
he should have stayed. He should have went the
year.
Cody route and stayed 2 years because I think he would have upped his draft stock big time because he was still a top 10 pick after his freshman
And
season.
Cody's maintained in the league so
Hell
far.
yeah,
He's done
bro.
a great job.
He stayed on the same team. Yeah, exactly, bro. He's averaging a clean little double-double. I think he's averaging like 12 and 10.
Maybe, and I
That's all
mean,
you can ask out of him. He's a good role player.
It takes a lot to get in a player like D'Lo, but I mean, I've seen talks about them trying to get Devin Booker to play with them too. So getting rid of all those players may be opening up for something else.
They're definitely opening up cap space. No
Yeah,
question.
they have
to.
I think it'd be cool too, just because like you got Cat and you got D'Lo, 2 primetime players now. You got a few more role players in there. Yeah, they got rid of their old guys, but maybe they could open some cap space to get a guy like D-Book and open up.
That pick and roll is about to be nasty, bro.
It was
They're gonna be running that pick and roll all day long.
It was surprising, like you said, it really was, but it was just like they had been talking about it, like, and we had a conversation about this several times. I was like, he's in Golden State, that's going to be a good fit for him alongside the Splash Brothers, like that's going to be a deadly team.
Golden State got Andrew Wiggins out of that deal, man.
I know.
That's nice, bro. Because just think, if they tank this season, which obviously no one's trying to tank, but I mean, with the position they're in right now, it's not even worth trying to. If I were Steph, I wouldn't even come back. I've said it on this podcast. If I'm Steph, I'm not coming back. But just think, next season, Clay healthy, Steph healthy, Draymond's healthy with all those guys. You get a top 5 pick. What if they pick up James Wiseman and you get Andrew Wiggins?
I saw an edit. I saw an edit with LaMelo on the front.
Huh?
I saw an edit with LaMelo and all those Warriors guys. Like, what if they take LaMelo too?
I've seen that Anthony Edwards out of Georgia's top 2 pick though. Do you think LaMelo? Where do you think Golden State? I mean, they're gonna have a top 5 pick. I think
For sure.
I just don't know if it's gonna be top 3, top 2.
It's tough to see what to know what they're gonna do whenever. I mean, they don't necessarily need a point. I mean,
that's all I'm saying.
They could use a backup point guard like LaMelo, like to learn under Steph. Like that would be. I don't see a problem with that.
But let me ask you this though: do you think LaMelo would? I mean, obviously, everyone would be mentored by one of the best shooters in the game. But my thing is, knowing his dad, knowing his family, they want him out there starting immediately. Do you think he'd be accepting of that role to back up Steph?
I think you better just leave it alone and let him do that. Don't talk to him.
Talking shit about Steph Curry, saying that Lonzo, if you split Lonzo with Steph, you put Steph on UCLA and you put Lonzo on Golden State Warriors, they're even better. It's like, wait, what? Steph would be dropping 75 a game. What the hell are you talking about? He was like, oh, they shoot him out the game.
Yeah.
What, bro? No. But that's what I'm saying, though. I just don't know if
that's why we don't hear
I don't know if LeVar would be okay with that. You know what I mean? I think LaMelo would be fine. Everybody else is fine. I think, and Alonzo's distanced himself a little bit from his dad, as you can see. I mean, it seems like LeVar's not as much involved in Lonzo's
in a lot anymore.
Just in the NBA,
It's just
still got his
obviously he's still supporting him, but LeVar's definitely toned it down a little bit. Definitely.
For sure.
But what other trade surprised you, like other than that one?
It seemed just like yesterday, Iggy's, there's been talk, there was beef with him and Steph and all that with Ja Morant and everything. And I mean, that was surprising that he ended. Like, it's not surprising that he ended up in Miami because they have a solid core. Like, Pat Riley's building something. He's building things up. But I thought that was kind of surprising that it just came up out of nowhere. Like, these were the talks. This is where Iguodala is going, and he ended up there. Like, that's going to be a good fit for him, I think.
Iguodala's a proven champion too, man. 3-time NBA champ. I mean, he won that Finals MVP in 2015.
So I wouldn't say that was the most I wasn't surprised by that, but I was like most intrigued by that deal.
I was
probably
kind of surprised by the way his exit did go. Just in the way that he dealt with it with those players and Dylan Brooks' comments back at him, you know.
Which he never. I mean, Iguodala never even really entertained any of that. He was just, it was between Steph and Ja, but he knew at the beginning of the season. I understand what Iggy was doing. He was saying, I'm coming from winning 2 championships, and now you're sending me to Memphis, who's in a rebuild stage. If I'm Iguodala, I'm not gonna. He's saying, I'm not gonna be able to give you my all this season because that's not where at this point in my career. I'm not rebuilding. I'm winning game. I'm winning. I'm competing for championships. So.
And he's not maybe at the stage yet to where he needs to be like maybe mentoring those guys as much, they're still getting in and they want to learn from him, but maybe he's not willing to as much because he still wants to get out.
It's similar to the Paul George situation, really, where he was like, I don't want to come back and play and not give my all to a team whenever I know my heart I want to be somewhere else. So he just sat out the season, worked on it, did some things for himself, personally. He's got a book out that he was, getting his post-retirement plans ready to go and keeping his body fresh. So I think he's going to do big things for Miami.
But the thing is, dude, that Memphis team, they're nice.
They're not bad either, no.
Yeah, they're not joke. They're a good young
I can kind of see what Dylan Brooks is saying. It was like he kind of felt betrayed in a sense because you didn't want to be a part of this. But like you said, I understand where Iguodala's coming from.
Trade works for both sides, really. It works both ways.
Works for both sides because, you got to think Justice Winslow is going over to Memphis now. That's a good addition. James Johnson's coming over. Those are 2 really good role players.
Squad, yeah. I'm excited to watch them.
Dude, the Western Conference, when it comes to playoff time, it's going to be nice.
But I was happiest to have Marcus Morris join the Clippers because that's a good fit for him. Yeah.
Why did you want them with the Clippers? They're like, what about him?
Because he's proven. Obviously, he's been in New York as a starter. He's proven that he can put up numbers, averaging 19 points a game on 44% shooting. Like, he is an effective scorer, effective player. He can make an impact on the game. But he doesn't have a problem like taking that bench role, and I think the Clippers have a deep bench, but they don't have a whole lot of shooting. And
I'm on the same page with that.
And so they really cleared out some of their guys that couldn't really shoot as well, and brought in a shooter that can shoot the ball at a high clip. So
yeah, we said he's shooting around like 46%.
Around 44%, 19 points a game.
Solid, yeah. And he made the most of his role in New York, man. Because you got to think, if I'm Morris too, I'm getting the hell out of there as soon as I can, because that's a dumpster fire right now.
Oh, no doubt.
They're really banking on the NBA draft, honestly, because they've literally swung and missed on every free agent possible the last 5 or 6 years.
They were working that
and
KD
now,
last year. They were trying to get all that together.
And Rick Bucher tried to sit here and say that it was a done deal, him going to New York, which, you were somewhat right, Rick, but not the right team.
Close, though.
Yeah, he was close.
But also,
he tried.
Marcus Morris is like, he tried to bring whenever he got traded to New York, he's like, I'm gonna embrace this New York role. Like, I'm gonna take on that hard-nosed player type of guy that's gonna, we're not gonna back down from anybody. And you got Patrick Beverley for the Clippers who who has that same mentality. So I think you got Montrezl Harrell, same way. So guys all have that same mindset. I think it's just a great fit for them. They got better.
Loaded, bro.
For sure.
Just got some shooting. And look what happens when you surround Paul George around other reliable shooters.
Where he's not having to do it.
The argument that I had with you the other day. Remember, no, it was a few weeks ago about how in OKC, Westbrook, the problem was it didn't work out because they didn't have enough reliable shooting around him. Westbrook, he's not a reliable shooter. He's a reliable driver to the basket, but not necessarily a shooter because he's in a shoot. The last 2-3 years, we can say he's been in the shooting slump. He shoots a little too much. But outside of PG, there really was no consistent shooting. Yeah, Jeremy Grant can hit the outside baseline 3 every now and again, but you can't expect that out of him every other possession. You know what I'm saying? Terrence Ferguson, same thing. They just didn't have enough. Also, where they fucked up was they didn't play that Nader enough in the playoffs. Nader was a good
That was
player.
A mistake, for sure.
That was a big-time mistake by Billy Donovan, definitely, because he's a good young player. But they did I feel like OKC's done well with what they've got, though. I mean, ever since the 2 trades, getting rid of Westbrook and Paul George, I did not expect them to do this well.
Sam Presti knows what he's doing.
He knows exactly what he's doing. Shea's nice. Chris, obviously, Paul's going crazy. Chris Paul made an all-star team. Honestly, I think that was a bit... Not a mistake. Well, actually, yes, it was a mistake.
That kind of threw me
because I
loop.
think D Book deserves that. D Book was averaging 27 and got snubbed out of there.
That's
that
true.
was easily.
I just don't see how D Book can't be part of the All-Star team. Like he showed us year in and year out that he's been the performer.
And same thing.
He's been that
with
point
Cat.
every year.
Same,
he scored 70 in a game.
And the same situation goes for Bradley Beal. How in the hell is Kyle Lowry an All-Star and Bradley Beal isn't? How the fuck does that make any sense? Could you explain that to me?
I mean, I would think. I mean, it's about the fans voting, and
that's where
Kyle Lowry was in the NBA Finals last year,
So
playing this. He's a little bit more, Who else was it that we were? Beal was.
Wizards.
Was he injured most of last season? Wasn't he?
I don't even.
Yeah, he was injured some
A
of
little
last
bit.
season. I remember he was injured last season.
But
at
like
some point.
even the Wizards themselves, like they haven't been like a contending team really in the last.
I mean, with John Wall being
Yeah,
injured,
that
that hurts.
Really derailed everything, bro. Because if John Wall stays healthy through it all, the Wizards are damn near a competing team in the East, in my opinion. They are a nice squad, dude. I'm telling you, Thomas Bryant's a walking double-double. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. I love TB. TB plays hard. He plays
Thomas Bryant
straight.
is a hard
emotion.
I'm surprised they couldn't make it work when you got John Wall, Bradley Beal, Kelly Oubre. Like, they had all those
what I'm
guys
saying.
and
They
still
did have
couldn't
some
really
good
make it
Wasn't
work.
Trevor Ariza on that squad for a little bit, too?
I feel like he was,
for
yeah.
a little bit.
Who's he on now? Trevor Ariza's been bouncing around.
Houston.
He's on
Hu-
Portland?
Portland
I
or
think it was. I think he's on
Portland? Yeah, he
He's
is.
on Houston.
Remember,
Yeah, he
because
was.
he got broke by Braun. Broke by Braun.
He
and Kobe.
rolled.
My fault. Choked a little bit. But anyway, another surprising trade that I was going to bring up. What the hell is Houston doing trading away Capella and Nene? What the hell is going on? That was your only reliable rebounder. Small ball doesn't work. We've seen it so many times in game when they've tried to play that small lineup, putting PJ at the 5. You know PJ has no business playing 5 on guys that are 6'11". This man's he's a stocky 6'7". I'll give him that. He's a nice little Charles Barkley build, Doesn't play like the fucker, but hey, at least he tries.
I feel like they were trying to get another deal done by doing that, like clearing up room, doing something,
They
and
tried to get
and
Tristan Thompson.
and that had to have fallen, like that fell through, and then they were left with nothing. Like I
mean,
think
they got Jordan Bell.
That's a nice.
that's a
decent
good,
pick.
that's a rebounder for you right there.
Robert comes in. That's a good pickup too. But I'm just saying,
I mean,
you
they got a
lose
2024 second round pick too.
I just think they lost a lot of rebounding production out of that. You know what I'm saying? Most of their rebounds came from Clint Capella fighting on the glass.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah, he's probably one of the best rebounders.
Yeah,
right now in the league.
it seems odd with like the playoff. They've played in the playoffs. He's played with James Harden. Like it seems like he would have been their guy to go with in the playoffs this season, but they were seeing something different. But it's Jordan Bell, I mean, he's not like a. He's played in the finals. He's been there too.
Yeah, he's been there.
So like, just work with him, and you can get something still productive.
I feel bad for Nene though because he got waived.
Oh, that's shitty. Yeah, and IT's probably going to get waived from LA.
Yep.
That stinks. Because who did the Clippers? Because Jerome Robinson went to the Wizards.
Yep.
He's a good young guy. I fuck with Jerome Robinson.
And then the Knicks had picked up Mo Harkless in the 2020 pick.
Damn, Mo Harkless got the bad end of that. Man, I'd be pissed if I were Harkless.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
just been getting to LA, living it up, sunshine, beautiful women.
I think he was
beach.
Playing well.
Really starting to get
You're the
comfortable.
second in the West.
Playing well, and then, hey, buddy, you're getting shipped off to New York.
But you got to be hyped being Marcus because
Man.
you're going to that squad now.
Man,
You're
if I'm Harkless and I see and Ballmer tells me that shit, oh, dude, I'm damn near throwing hands, bro. I'm not dealing with that shit.
Yeah, that's
No. But I just, oh my, I mean, look, Clint Capella's averaging 14 rebounds a game. That's what I'm saying. You lose so much production. I get it. Robert Covington's a damn good role player. I like Robert.
Great
Covington.
shooter.
He can shoot. That's another great shooter. I like that. But I just think it was a win-lose in a sense. You know what I'm saying? I feel like it was more of a lose than a win, but I can see where it's...
But how have they been? They haven't been playing too well as of late, as far as winning games. So they felt like they needed to make a change.
But honestly, that part of that problem was Harden wasn't shooting that well, bro. That's mainly why they were suffering. Because you got to think, Harden's used to. I mean, people are used to seeing Harden dropping 40
Right.
points a game than Westbrook.
Exactly.
Right, and so when
It's complete opposite.
and so when he's not shooting well, you can't rely on a guy like Clint Capella to hit shots. So that's maybe why they decided to go bring in Covington, more like a reliable shooter. That could be hitting.
I don't like that. I don't
True.
like the small ball offense, dude. Who's going to be their starting center? Whoever
What
the hell
other-
number
yeah,
55 is, he can't rebound.
what
Shit,
other
he
big
can't
man
hit
do they
water
have?
if he fell out of a damn boat.
What other big men do they have?
Number
Oh, wait,
55. That's
That's
what I was
it, though?
just saying.
Like, that's it? Nobody
Look,
else?
this is all they got, bro. I'll show you right now. This is, look, the
'Cause
only
I've been
big man
trying to
they had,
think over here.
Clint Capella, and then they had this big number 55. I can't remember his name. Oh, Clint Capella's out, too. He's hurt. What the hell? But, yeah, because you got to think, Clint Capella getting 14 rebounds a game, that definitely changes the flow of the game for a lot of teams. If you can have a reliable rebound, if Miles Turner can rebound like that, the Pacers are damn near a contender for the title, in my opinion. If he can rebound like, that's what I'm saying, bro.
You put him with Trae Young and John Collins, like, I mean, they're struggling now this season, but once it all gels together, I mean, you got some weapons there.
The Hawks did well. I like that.
They
the
did.
Hawks picked up a really good player. Hawks picked up a damn good player. And
I'm trying to think of which guy you are talking
Tyson,
about.
They got Tyson Chandler, too. I forgot about Tyson Chandler. He's a nice little rebounder, but let's be honest, he's a liability on offense. He's not going to get you a whole lot of offense.
Isaiah Hartenstein?
But he can easily grab as many rebounds as Capella if he's getting those minutes.
I'm sorry, Isaiah, but I'm just going to keep it real with you, bro. No, you're just not that great. I respect you trying. I really do. He's out there working his ass off, but look, he just gets outmaneuvered in the post, man. That's really all it boils down to. If he goes up against a true five like Joel, they're going up against the Lakers. Like, even JaVale McGee was making him his bitch the last time they played.
Yeah, I don't really know what they're going to do about that.
Yeah, I don't know.
That seems like that could be an issue for him.
At the beginning, we were talking about there being a lack of loyalty, and I think that kind of goes with the Drummond trade, because he came out and tweeted about he's like, this shows me that there's really no loyalty, because, I mean, what were the Pistons thinking with that trade? They're getting rid of Drummond to bring in John Henson, Brandon Knight, and a second-round pick. Brandon Knight, John Henson.
What are you picking up with that?
Well,
How are you getting better?
There's so many more assets you could have got for Drummond. Like, you could have traded Drummond for way better than that.
Oh, definitely. Drummond was going for that max contract this season too. He was working his ass off.
Drummond probably feels disrespected.
Oh,
He does feel disrespected.
He was the face of that team. Him and Derrick Rose were the only two good things going on for that organization. Luke Kennard is definitely coming along. I'll give him that. Luke Kennard's I've seen him in a couple games at Bankers, and that dude can shoot. I'm not gonna lie.
He's done a lot better.
I mean, he was really the only good thing going for that team. I mean, Detroit's 19-34.
I mean, because
you're not going to do much better getting rid of Andre Drummond. You're probably going to do a whole lot worse. Because now you just, like I said, about the Rockets, now you're losing a whole bunch of rebounding production, a lot of offensive production too, because he was a main centerpiece in that offense. They love to feed it to him in the post because he could just outbody a lot of guys. He's a whole lot bigger. Well, I've said it in the pod. The motherfucker is huge. Him and Meg Thee Stallion, fuck yeah, but that baby's turned out to be 7'5", 300 pounds. Another Shaq.
You're right.
That's what I'm saying. But, I mean, look at this team now. I mean, Detroit, y'all done fucked up with this one.
I'm surprised because Boston was in talks to get Tristan Thompson. They were trying to make moves, but they're 35-15 right now. Like, they're playing well with what they got. Like, they were expected to make moves, but they didn't make any, and I still think they're sitting pretty well in the East. Boston, because they were looking to add Tristan Thompson by this trade deadline, but he's gonna.
Boston's a solid team though. Like, if you see their core, they got a pretty good team out there, I would say.
Oh, definitely.
But with all the moves with the Eastern Conference, Miami obviously just loaded up.
Oh,
so
yeah, Miami's the team. They're definitely second to the Bucks for the biggest contenders in the East, no question.
And I think with the Pacers, like, Oladipo is gonna have to get back fully healthy, in a rhythm.
He's got to start hitting some
and
shots.
what's
he's getting his feet under him.
I had a conversation with my friend about this today. Just the fact that there's got to be some. He's just got back, and he shot the other night like he's putting up shots and he's not hitting them, which he didn't play for a year. He's got rust to get through.
And isn't he down minutes a little bit too right now?
Yeah, he's just getting used to the rotation.
You just got to know that like it's mental. Like he's got to be thinking in his mind,
You're still the same.
He had a serious injury.
And he obviously still does. You saw it in the Chicago game. He pulled up from damn near the logo.
Exactly.
Tied it up.
But so with the Miami loading up like they did, do you think that they can give the Bucks a good run at it with this?
I could believe that. I honestly still think Boston's a contender too.
I think Boston definitely is.
I think they're a close. Like you said, they're a tie up there. I would say Boston's that close.
I think the top 4 teams in the East that honestly I feel like could contend for the title. Like realistically, right now, if we're talking right now, is Boston, Milwaukee, Miami, and then the 4th one is dude.
It's up in the air, dude.
I'm in between the Raptors and the
Toronto's
Pacers.
won like 13 straight.
Yeah.
They just
Toronto's
they're
nice.
nice.
just beat the Pacers, came back in the final 5 minutes of the game.
Dude, that was just an utter disaster by the Pacers. Dude, first of all, with the last 5 seconds, Vic chucks up that 3, hits off the rim, gets his own rebound, passes out to Brogdon. Brogdon had a wide open jumper from the elbow, but instead he tried to. I mean, I could see what he saw.
He saw
Sabonis was diving to the basket, but he mishandled it. Fred VanVleet hit it out of there. Ball game's over. But
which goes to show.
Once they get that gel, once they're finally fully healthy, Vic gets his feet under him. The Pacers are going to be that 4th team, bro. I'm telling you right now. They are deep. They got some shooters in their squad, too, man. Jeremy Lamb has shown he can hit the fucking 3. You can look at Doug McDermott. He's shown he's
T.J. Warren.
T.J. Warren's a silent killer, bro. I like T.J. a lot.
For sure.
You said what were we talking about? He played for, was it David West?
He works out with David West. He played for his
You don't want to mess with that, man.
Jimmy, you want no smoke with anybody that's worked out with David West. Because we all know how David West was back in his day. That you don't want to be messing with David.
I don't think you'd even walk past and say 2 words to the guy.
Hey, Beverly called Jimmy Butler out on that just last night. He was like, you were quiet again.
You were talking to that guy from the Pacers.
So he said, you silence as a church man.
Church man.
You got to.
That's hilarious.
But going back to Miami, I definitely think they are definitely contenders with Milwaukee. Because you got to think, Miami's starting 5 now. Let's think about it. You got, obviously, Kendrick Nunn at the 1. 2, is it Duncan Robinson starts at the 2? Or they may put Jimmy Butler at the 2.
Thinking, yeah.
And then put Iguodala at the 3. 4 being, who normally plays 4? Is it Olynyk that plays 4 for the Miami? And then 5 is obviously Bam. Bam has taken a big step this year. I like Bam a lot. Bam is a very versatile athlete, very lengthy, can run the floor very well. I definitely think they can contend with them, honestly, because you got to think, Bam, going up against Brook, I mean, yeah, I know Brook can expand his range a little bit and can get out on the perimeter.
But he can defend.
He can defend. That's what I'm saying, bro. It's really just a good matchup. I mean, Giannis obviously in itself is a matchup nightmare. I mean, no one can guard Giannis. I'm sorry. There's not a player in the league that can contain that man.
Shaq said it was him in the league right now.
And I would honestly damn near agree with that.
The competitiveness in the NBA, Eastern Conference, Western Conference, I mean, it's at an all. It's great.
Especially when
it's
you
great.
Look, like a few years ago, when you look back and everybody used to say the West was so overloaded, they've made great progress. I feel like.
Oh, I know. Even in this year, everyone going into the season was like, the West is stacked up, the East is but the East is. They've got players from the West coming over to the East now, and it's kind of meshing, and.
That's what I like. That's what I like to see.
It's competitive.
You've seen a couple of these teams like Orlando even go on the road at LA, even though they're 22 and 29. I mean, they're not doing that great, but they've shown they can compete with some dogs too. They gave the fucking Lakers their first home loss and their place. I mean, come on now. Orlando's shown they can compete. Brooklyn, they've shown they can win some games too. Kyrie, I mean, yeah, I get it. That's a lot of weight on his shoulders. But after your first game, it's probably not the best idea to talking shit about the players that you need. You need to get more pieces.
Especially when they were playing really well beforehand too.
Oh, definitely. They were playing great without Kyrie. So, but just, oh my God, just wait till next year. Next year it's even going to be even better.
I just told him this.
Coming back to Brooklyn.
I said, dude, I haven't even really been thinking about KD this season.
Oh, I think Brooklyn's going to be right at the top there whenever KD comes back.
And And that's
For
another
sure.
team for the East that's just going to be putting on.
Look at Brooklyn at this point, man. Brooklyn's so nice. They got some good role players too. They got Jared Allen, Joe Harris can shoot the ball, Spencer Dinwiddie, Kyrie, and then you just add
Jared Allen.
Oh my lord, Karis LeVert.
You got Jared Allen and KD in the paint. Like that's gonna be a tough team to score on right there with those two players alone.
Dude, I like Dinwiddie. He's honestly one of my favorite point guards, I think, right now. Like, no bullshit.
He's nice.
Yeah, Dinwiddie's nice. I like what he did when he changed the number to 26 to honor Kobe. I do cool.
Like that. They who did they say was going to be in the skills challenge? Was it P. Bev?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch him in that too. I think
D
that'll
Rose
go crazy.
dropped out. I was pissed.
Oh yeah.
There was reports saying that D Rose
because he probably was expecting to be on the move, like getting traded, and
damn near.
he stayed in Detroit. They kept him.
Let me ask you this though: do you damn near think? Let's just say you're D Rose. Are you hoping to move if you're D Rose at this point? Like, hoping to get traded?
Well, from Detroit to LA, I'm hoping that happens.
I see that swirling around like in the rumor mill. I'm on the trade block and I could go to LA. Dude, I'm jumping out of my fucking seat.
I'm not gonna be.
I'm getting my plane ticket and I'm gone.
I'm not gonna be AB though and be like, thank you for cutting me. I'm free. I'm free. I'm not gonna do it like that.
That really showed me that he was fucked up. Like he wasn't right.
That's for a different episode though.
That's definitely for a different episode. But I mean, obviously, boys, this trade deadline was absolutely insane.
Eventful.
We saw a lot of teams
eventful.
get better, definitely. But the one question that I had for all you guys is how long do you think Drummond's going to stay in Cleveland? Because I know Drummond wants to be on a competing team. Drummond wants to win games because he's a good ball player. Do you think he's going to stay in Cleveland and try to rebuild with those young guns, or do you think he's going to try to go and be a veteran?
He's going to be he's going to be that next big free agent that says, I'm available. I'm going to test free agency. I didn't plan on coming here.
I think because he was going for the contract year for next year. He was hoping for that.
Yeah, he's going to be testing free agency immediately.
I can see it,
So you don't think like Trey and John would try to convince him like, hey man, we got some young guns here. We can try to build something special here.
And bring him to Atlanta?
Yeah. No, he's already in Atlanta.
Who?
Oh no,
Drummond's in Cleveland.
I'm an idiot. My fault. I thought he went to Atlanta. That's Clint Capella. My fault.
Yeah.
But anyway,
a lot of names right
But
now.
anyway, well, yeah, Cleveland. Yeah, I'm not staying.
No, yeah.
I'm sorry. Like I get it, Colin's
I just think
nice.
it's in a weird spot too. Like we said, players have been iffy with Bayline so far. So you're just
they're really not gelling with Beeline all that well, man. I mean, that whole film session story came out about how he accidentally said thugs and said slugs, and oh my god, shit's hitting the fan.
I mean, I hope they can move past it though, because I want to see him do well, because I liked him as a coach at Michigan. And
I did.
I like how
him
they're
too.
a young team, and Windler's obviously on the squad. I want to see Cleveland.
Dude,
rise up,
I know.
though.
I want to see Windler go crazy, bro. It's just he got hurt. He's out for the year now, man.
Here's-
That stress fracture came back. He had a little hairline fracture in his leg, and it came back. It's just at that. And honestly, if I'm D Win, I'm sitting out the rest of the year too. I
Exactly.
mean,
You might as
Cleveland's
well.
not going to do nothing this year. Let's be honest. I mean, they're one of the bottom. They're the worst team in the league. 13 to 30.
No, when we were
Better be
talking.
safe on an injury like that than just be too sorry and have it be detrimental to you.
Yeah.
When we were talking about that fourth team, we didn't mention the 76ers.
I was thinking about them, but
What do you think about the 76ers? I saw Rick Bucher talk today about it's about making pieces fit, right? And it's like Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, they've both Embiid's dealt with injury, Simmons has played well, but when they're on the court at the same time, does that matchup work? I know they just picked up Alec Burks from the Warriors.
They actually just got rid of Ennis as well, too, for a 2020 second-round pick next year.
Now, do you think the 76ers can make it gel and put themselves in that spot?
The problem with the 76ers, and a lot of people have obviously said this is obviously
I think I know where you're going.
but they can't shoot, bro.
Yep.
They have no shooting at all. I mean, it just sucks that Ben Simmons can't hit a shot outside of 8 feet. That's definitely a liability in a sense,
Yeah, you got Tobias.
Tobias
he's
is
one of
all
the
right.
few guys who can fill in and hit here.
And Al Horford's got a nice little stroke on him too, but it's just not consistent
they've got a powerful lineup. Like
They
pa-
have the ability to.
well, not even just that. They just have like a brute force lineup. Like they have these big guys that can.
I mean, you got Simmons
But you don't have shooters. You say, there's nobody that can really shoot.
In a sense, they could damn near space the ball out, or space the floor a little bit out better, in a sense, because you got to think, if you got Ben Simmons driving the hole, you got Joel Embiid inside, you could just have Al Horford kick out on that baseline three. No one's going to fucking cover him. You dish it out to him because they're all going to collapse on either Ben Simmons or Embiid. Feed it out to him. You got some shooting right there. It just has to be more consistent.
And that's like
the
with
issue.
them being a team, if they can acquire a few shooters, maybe through the draft, even come into next year strong, like I feel like they could be impressive if they had shooters. 'Cause just like that, if you got a floor plan like that and you do kick and have shooters, that's going to be a dangerous team.
And obviously, one perk for them is rebounding. They got some size, like you said. They're a big team. Ben Simmons 6'10", Joel Embiid 6'11", 7 foot, Al Horford 6'10". I mean, that's a big lineup.
Bottom line is the Eastern Conference, the 1 through 6 spot. Like that's gonna be really entertaining the second half of the season. That's gonna be
definitely. I but still look out for Brooklyn and Orlando, man. Those teams are still nice. I mean, obviously they haven't impressed as much as obviously the top 6 teams, but they've shown promise, definitely.
Definitely.
I mean, they'll be. You got Kyrie in the playoffs. You got him healthy. You got Dinwiddie. I mean,
They got the only problem for them is they just don't have a lot of like Philadelphia has the size. That's the only problem with Brooklyn. They don't necessarily have the size that Philadelphia. That's why they struggled with Philadelphia last year, in my opinion, because they just didn't have the size to compare with them.
As for the Pacers, when it comes to playoff time, though, I feel like they've always
they're projected to
struggle.
Look, I mean, if the playoffs started today, they'd play the Heat. Oh my, that would be an amazing series right there. That's going 7.
That'd be an old rivalry renewed.
Beat the Heat. Oh, it's already been renewed.
I mean, it is renewed, but for the playoffs,
Because even Jimmy said it. He marked the date when they're coming back to Indy, and I cannot. I'm working that game. So I'm gonna see what happens there, bud.
That's gonna be.
It's gonna be nice.
I'm excited though. I really think it's gonna be a good end to the year. Like,
this is gonna be.
We're creeping up on All-Star break, and it's only gonna get better.
It's only gonna get better.
Who you got for your pick for All-Star?
Oh yeah, I wanted to pull that up. All right, so.
The All-Star draft
The
tonight.
All-Star draft. So LeBron has Anthony Davis, Kawhi, Luka Doncic, James Harden, Damian Lillard, Ben Simmons, Jokic, Jason Tatum, Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook, Domantas Sabonis, and then Giannis has Joel Embiid, Siakam, Kemba Walker, Trae Young, Middleton, Bam Adebayo, Rudy Gobert, Jimmy Butler, Kyle Lowry, Brandon Ingram, and Donovan Mitchell. I'm gonna go with Bron on this.
I'm going Team LeBron, no doubt.
Something just tells me that team is gonna. I mean, not run them.
Well, they have the new rules, the new format too.
This year's gonna be.
So it's really just gonna matter in the fourth quarter. It's
the end score. They're just ending the third quarter and like starting over.
Yeah, first 1 to 24 from that point.
Okay, I like it.
But I'm still taking Team Bron.
I feel you. Yeah, I could agree.
All right, boys. Well, this was a great talk. Trade deadline was nuts. Everything that we expected is crazy.
Like, subscribe, comment.
Let us know what you want to see us do.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We at you.